This is a play about a summer's day, a normal summer's day in Kent.
We're happy here. Who wouldn't be in Kent, the Garden of England?
I don't know. I'm a pie and chips kind of guy. You know, I'm pretty basic. It's just about relationships, isn't it? And they're all a bit screwed up.
Four rather disturbed, dysfunctional people.
The inevitability and presence of death lurking under everyday life.
I haven't got a fucking clue.
The story is just about a woman who has a new beginning. It's really simple.
Yeah, you see, I would immediately say it's a story about a man who died from a wasp sting.
The plays that I like most and that I try to write are plays that audiences can access on different levels. And I really like it when audiences come out of a play and they've got different things that they think it's about.
We all came into it a bit sort of, what is this play?
Were you aware of that sort of sense from the actors that they weren't really sure about the play?
No.
No.
Did they change their mind by the end of the day?
And were rather nicely surprised when we heard each other sort of speak.
I think it's not an unusual, completely unusual situation to be in for a cast perhaps to not be fully sure of, or perhaps to like a script, but then to understand and to kind of start loving it through the rehearsal process.
We don't drink on Tuesdays, Thursdays and Saturdays.
That's rather masochistic, not drinking on a Saturday.
Richard and I like to have some married time on a Sunday morning when their children are at ballet.
Okay, good. Maybe, Meg, just with Richard, we're not drinking today. Maybe don't be too... It feels like she's in control of the drinking. That's almost like her idea.
Okay.
You can trust Dominic. I think that's the thing, is that you don't need to fret or worry about it beforehand. The way Dominic works is he knows the play that you're doing, back to front, inside out, upside down.
Be a little bit more front foot with it. Because you've got a nice going, can I have a drink? No. Well, I'd like a drink. Oh, well, OK, we'll have a drink. Well, actually, no. Do you see what I mean? So let her input in that little dialogue be a little bit more forceful.
Yeah.
You know, one of my jobs as a director is to be able to read a play with a sense of what it could be in a way that perhaps an actor doesn't have to do. You know, it's called All Is Vanity, so again, very strongly it feels to be about the idea of, you know, the meaninglessness of life, these rich middle class or living a middle class, upper class life in England, Kent, and yet underneath you've got all this pain and despair, and the wonderful kind of imagery that comes through the play, that is the imagery of those, you know, those vanitas paintings of the skull and the hourglass. So in this sort of lovely English lush setting, absolutely death feels like it's there all the way, and gives it, I think, a wonderful kind of shadow and a wonderful kind of shudder all the way through, which is terrific. Again, it feels very, to me, you know, just listening to it again, like, you know, an English Virginia Woolf, there is that, the older couple, the younger couple, the kind of getting the guests, baiting the guests. It has that lovely kind of feel to it as well. Do you want to say anything first before we start working on it?
Just that, you know, Dominic asked us to try and write something that was imaginative and playful. Before Dominic Hill approached me to write something, I can remember him using the phrase that you can have a, like, stampede of elephants if you want to. And that was what really really set me off. How I talk to other writers about their plays, the references are often in visual art, but I've never really written a play from that starting point myself, basically. And so everything that Dominic was sort of saying about the idea of the vanitas and was really appealing, how you could make that vivid in a play. And what's really good about the vanitas is that there are kind of three kind of formal kind of parts to it. Classically, there's the skull, there's the hourglass, and then there's the flower. And I started to think, well, actually, you could have kind of three characters that are kind of written out of that energy. the other kind of energy that kind of came into it, which is partly where the title of the play comes from. There's kind of one part of the title is to do with the Vanitas, where it's called All Is Vanity. And the other part of the title is called All With Apologies to Nathalie Sarraut. Now, Nathalie Sarraut was a French novelist, an existential French novelist, essayist and playwright, poet. And she wrote these series of really mad, often quite short plays, which didn't have much physical action, but were kind of vibrantly alive and on the moment. And also the characters, I suppose because it was French, and the French aren't afraid of serious discussion, the characters were really unafraid of asking big philosophical questions in the play. And so kind of out of those two energies, I just started writing. And the only thing practically I'd say, because it's not the kind of play that's about that's got a starting point of a kind of a naturalistic emotional life. It's kind of hard to kind of, I know we have to kind of get behind it and find a way to kind of play it and all that. But what I think is really important is that is to not apologise for any of it. It's just to really do it. I think you just have to really do it.
Such a lovely moist cake, Ursula. You must give me the recipe.
If you were the skull, Roy...
The skull?
Well, on account of your follically challenged scalp. Charlotte is the flower, and I am the hourglass. Who are you, Richard?
Richard's mysterious.
Yes, he is.
I do the good looks, and Richard does the mystery, don't we, darling?
I'll just ask about that, if you have the skull, Roy.
Yeah.
It's more than just a...
Yeah, it's more than...
More than a game, isn't it? There's something about him, it feels, that runs all the way through. I mean, the minute you call him Satan and the devil, that has a kind of mystery for you. Do you feel that it's...
Yes. You have an instinct, but it also changes. The more you hear somebody else speak, the more you go, oh, that's what's happening here. You know, we're discovering. That's what rehearsals are. I mean, we've only got a day, but it's about discovery, and it will be different at this stage every time. Okay, okay. Come to your follically challenged scalp. That's a dig.
Yeah.
Flower.
Because she's...
Who are you, Richard? Yeah.
Richard's, and I think she believes... Richard's... Yes, he is. There's something...
Yes, he is.
She hasn't quite got a handle on him yet.
Yeah, yeah.
When I first read this play, I thought it was kind of absurd and that the meaning was quite difficult to grasp. But actually, once talking to David and working on it today, the whole thing, in a way, makes complete sense and is a lot more moving, I think, than I originally thought it was, and a lot more real in terms of the kind of emotions that are going on underneath it, even though stylistically it's quite heightened. Should we go from there?
Mm. If you were the skull, Roy...
The skull?
Well, on account of your follically challenged scalp. Charlotte is the flower, and I am the hourglass. Who are you, Richard?
Oh, Richard's mysterious.
Yes.
I do the good looks, and Richard does the mystery thing, don't we, darling?
Richard's silent, because he's kind of silent for a long time.
He's sulking, isn't he? He's just having a fucking sulk. That bitch has divulged all our secrets. We're not meant to drink. So and now she's said about the baby. Yeah. Just shut your fucking stupid mouth. And he's just having a sulk thinking that, I think. I'm just largely thinking I want to slap her and I want to drink. That's essentially...
Oh, so I don't know what's going on in your head.
Yeah. You've got this guy down drink or I'm going to kill her. I don't know, there's something great about making an original piece of work, 'cause, you know, nothing's set in stone. There's no set way of doing it. You make new decisions that are being made for the first time, and I think that's quite a unique experience.
There is a real theatricality to it, and a slightly wary to use the word heightened, because they're real people. But there is you know, I think, as you say, it is very active, even though they're just sitting around. What they're doing, even with their lines, I feel particularly with her, because they just, out of silences, something comes in, pow. So it is really active.
You can't sort of start going in, like, you can't sort of start at a level. I think it does sort of, I think the writing does sort of do that anyway. It reveals more and more and more and more and more.
Now, Ursula, you are going to behave yourself, aren't you? I can see you edging towards one of your spells again.
You're quiet, Richard. The last time you were very lively.
He's always quiet when he's sober.
Can we just talk about this a little bit?
Is that part of the same?
I think it
finger
is.
up my anus?
I think it is. You were very lively last time.
Feels like there's a...
You ain't seen nothing yet.
Yeah.
I needed the playwright to kind of unlock the meaning and the relationships through that discussion and through discovering it with the actors, that came to the fore. When the hostess has said no drink,
yes,
for a guest to say yes, I'd like a drink.
You'll usually sit around.
Is that just a symptom of his slight?
Well, it's been the tea from hell, hasn't it?
His tension, his feeling like, actually, I fucking like a drink.
The sooner we can have a drink, we get through this.
I think he's supporting Roy, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's kind of, he's being Roy's second in command, you know.
Okay, yeah, good.
So in that sense, I don't want to overanalyse this, overegg it at all, but it's a wee bit of a challenge to us, you know, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I'd like one actually, if you don't mind. Thank you very much. Off you go, on your toes. Wine, yeah.
Oh, it's fabulous having the writer. It really is revealing. You know, sometimes they don't know what they write. I mean, all writers would admit that, but it's still so helpful and insightful to have them there.
I never make kind of character sketches in my notes before I start writing, or never construct biographies for them. I'm much more like to find out who the characters are by creating them, by seeing what comes out.
You know, the first time I met Richard at the Fete, when we went off for a walk, he took me in the field and fucked me.
I had no idea that Ursula was going to say he took me in a field and fucked me, and he stuck his finger up my anus as well.
He put his finger in my anus as well.
If you tell me where the horizontal tab...
The character was alive, and I didn't know what she was going to say. I like to let the characters find me rather than try to go out and find them.
He put his finger in my anus. Did.
Although this play comes from kind of quite a hard-boiled conceptual starting point, in the actual kind of writing of it, it has to be something that finally is actable and that can be inhabited and lived in 3 dimensions by flesh and blood actors. So really, for me, however kind of high concept an idea is, it's finally, you've got to remember that these are kind of human beings that are going to inhabit this.
I guess that's true, yeah. I mean, you know, he writes, in this case, the 32-page play, and he's imagined it, all of those lines over those 32 pages in a certain way, and then we come in and either murder it or make it sing, you know?
You know, the first time I met Richard at the Fete, when we went for a walk, he took me in the field and fucked me. He put his finger in my anus as well.
If you tell me where the Puritan tablets are, I'll fetch them for you, Roy.
I'm sure it'll be fine.
The playwright David Hare has a lovely phrase where he says the play is in the air. And what that means is that the play is created out of not just the script, but also the actors and the audience, and that's absolutely right. And of course, you know, if you've written something that's got any richness or complexity to it, then inevitably, and you've got some really good actors and a really good director and designer, then inevitably they show you things that you didn't quite realise were there or didn't realise were there at all. And I think that's quite natural, given that a play comes from both a conscious and a subconscious impulse.
Darling, you're not bald.
We don't drink on Tuesdays, Thursdays and Saturdays.
That's rather masochistic, not drinking on a Saturday.
Well, Richard and I like to have some married time on a Sunday morning when the children are at ballet.
Do they go to ballet?
Yes.
We quite like a fuck with a hangover, don't we, Roy? Roy?
Writers laugh for different reasons. I think that you laugh out of delight because an actor's got it absolutely right. So actually you're laughing at something that an audience will never laugh at, and it's not always funny, but it's just delight to hear an actor absolutely hit it. And then there's the laughter because something is funny, so in effect you're laughing at your own joke.
Have we got any sting cream?
And some, sorry. I have some Alpha-Zan in my bag.
Is Alpha-Zan any good?
Oh, yes, it's just the thing.
How handy.
Well, I'm a magnet for flies and bees and wasps and all sorts in the summer. Aren't I, Richard? Richard?
Yes.
I think it's quite useful for actors to hear where the laugh might come. They can't play that laugh, they have to play the truth. But I think it's quite useful.
Ursula, would you like to put on the cream?
No. Please, you, Charlotte.
Shall I put some cream on your sting, Roy?
Yes, it hurts.
Do you mind, Richard?
No.
Okay, good. Lovely.
I never used to laugh so much in rehearsals, and I used to suppress my urge to laugh. But actors always told me that they liked it when I laughed because it made them feel good about what they were doing and that they were going in the right direction.
Oh, dear. Quite Acheborn, actually, isn't it, some of it? Well, at first I thought Acheborn-esque. But it's weirder than that, even. I mean, Acheborn's pretty weird at times, but you know what I mean? It's even... it's quite horrible.
That whole setup of an older couple whose relationship is based on kind of lies and playing and intellectual games, inviting round another younger, more naive couple and kind of playing with them, toying with them.
It's quite nasty. It's very cruel. I mean, they're all awful.
Interestingly, the thing that most clicked with me was when he talked about Edward Albee, and particularly Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, and suddenly, actually, the play made a lot of sense to me. Albee and Virginia Woolf came from a kind of absurd 60s, 70s absurdist tradition, and this play, it feels to me, links back to that kind of tradition. David deliberately talks about Nathalie Sarraute, a French writer, 60s. So it feels that, you know, all those sort of influences have kind of come together in this. Yes, it is slightly heightened, in the way that Virginia Woolf is, actually. I mean, people think of that as a naturalistic play, but it's not really, because it's coming out of that kind of absurdist thing, which is, of course, where Nathalie Sarraute's coming out of as well. So it does feel... It feels, yeah, absolutely, that we have to play strongly those characters on every line, what they're doing, who they are. And I think the fun of it comes out of that as well.
Yeah, I mean, in really simple terms, being on the front foot, actually.
Yeah,
it's really a play to be on the front foot.
Yeah.
There's one through line that I can't quite make my mind up what one should do about it. The silences are very important. Mm-hmm. And that just in reading it now, every time we come to a silence, there's a chance of it just being kind of empty. Yeah, that's what I was feeling. I thought, I've got to maintain a kind of a tension here somewhere.
I mean, I think...
You've got to
I think what they come out of is we just have to make sure we know what they're coming out of, and also how everyone responds to what they're coming out of. And I think that will then engage them, actually, because most of them are coming out of discomfort or whatever. So... And then I think also coming out of the action of coming out of the silence into whatever the next line is, again, can't be apologetic. I think it feels like that needs to be energised as well.
Can I add one caveat to that? I think that's absolutely right, and I think that's always right, that the silences are as active in a way as the kind of verbal life of a play. But I think in a play like this with this subject, if there are one or two that really are barren, it's no bad thing, actually. Just
tumbleweed moments, almost.
I just...
a wonderful reality, isn't it?
I'm not scared of the silences. I think they're great.
I, unfortunately, like the rest of you, didn't think it was the greatest piece of writing I'd ever seen. But it didn't matter. It was fine. It was quirky and interesting, sort of, but it wasn't... It's not my thing, particularly, but then acting isn't my thing either.
Please don't be embarrassed. It will pass. It always does. Remember what I said before, when it happened before.
It will not pass. He put his finger in my anus. Did.
She's not been the same since we decided that we'd give up on having children.
We did not decide.
You know, just for the record, Roy,
we're too old. It's provoked some existential crisis, a madness.
Don't talk about me in front of me.
When the bouts are more severe, it's usually better if we talk it out. It dissipates the mania. If we talk about it in the third person, as if Ursula were two people. It's even better if there are other people there.
Can I just go back?
Yeah.
Isn't this when the bouts are more severe, this bit, isn't it worse if you're trying to be as nice as possible? You know what I mean? If it's sort of explaining it, trying to explain it rather... I don't know.
There is a kind of almost sort of not frenzy, but the way, you know, it dissipates the mania if we talk about it. There's a kind of medical... Wasn't this connected to what you're saying? A sort of formal
what if I try,
explaining of it.
Yeah. What if it's like
them?
remembering lists of stuff that I've been told by some specialist and we have to keep reminding ourselves about it?
It's my job. I'm here to do that job.
On paper, it does feel difficult and absurd. But I think, you know, once you understand it, I mean, that's the whole point of rehearsal. Once you kind of delve into it and find out what's going on, then it kind of comes alive.
We're too old. It's provoked some existential crisis, a madness.
Don't talk about me in front of me.
When the bouts are more severe, it's usually better if we talk it out. It dissipates the mania if we talk about it in the third person, as if Ursula were two people. It's even better if there are other people there.
When the bouts are more severe, it's usually much better if we talk it out. It dissipates the mania if we talk about it in the third person, as if Ursula were two people. It's even better if there are other people there. Huntington's a fucking joker if he thinks I'm going to buy his consultancy for that price. Tell him to fuck off if he comes back with another piss-poor offer like that. I'm sorry we've embarrassed you, Charlotte.
Is it easy for me to be angry on stage? Yes. I can do it standing on my head with my thumb up my bum.
Your cake was very moist, Ursula.
Unlike my cunt. There really is no need for that, Ursula.
How much of it is an act?
She has the devil in her in terms of the
Do you know what I'm
mischievous and deliberately making it doing for effect.
You know, it's quite sane. Some of it, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, the deep core is absolute lunacy.
Yeah.
But there.
Yeah, no, no.
I did have a thought.
But I think it's true.
He has that fantastic line which says, when you say it's all an act, and then he says, but there must be, for you to put on that act, there must be something underneath deeply, deeply wrong.
Well, that sort of sums it up. Yeah.
Is this what you want?
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with you, is there?
What do you think?
It's all an act. Why put on such an act unless there's something very wrong? The choices you make, I guess, especially when you have such a short time looking at a piece, is just maybe you make blanket decisions about a character and you find nuance within a day. And, you know, if this guy is a bit of a shit, as my character is, who's not that keen on his wife, and is he there just to butter up the boss and can't wait to get out of there and make some money, he's very interested in money, you start to find that actually he can be a nice bloke at the end. I've initially found that switch to him being concerned for Ursula at the end a bit difficult. I
still don't know who you are, Richard.
I am only Richard.
Yes.
She is only Charlotte, my wife.
Yes.
And you are only Ursula. You are only Ursula.
Yes. Yes, I am.
You okay?
Nope.
Perhaps we can help you up.
Thank you.
I couldn't read it. It's like too big a switch, but that's because I'd committed too far down a road that was taking me away from that. In actual fact, you know, he's got a heart like anybody else.
Still don't know who you are, Richard.
I am only Richard.
Yes.
She is only Charlotte, my wife.
Yes.
And you are only Ursula. You are only Ursula.
Yes. Yes. I am.
Are you okay?
No.
Perhaps we can help you up.
Thank you.
It's good.
Well done.
I thought it was, when I first read it, I just thought it was nuts, and now I think it's really profound.
Or profoundly nuts.
Or nuttily profound, maybe. It's great.
Well, thank you. I've really enjoyed the morning.
Let's have lunch, and then we'll do some very simple staging this afternoon. Okay. It seemed that the obvious way to stage it would be a kind of in the round format, so that the performers were in a kind of naturalistic setup rather than in a kind of line. And that seemed to suit the space, the sort of three-sided space that we've been working in. The chairs that they're sitting on are further apart than they would be in a naturalistic setting, but I wanted that sense of them being able to, you know, look across the space at each other, interact with them in a kind of a more realistic environment rather than being in a kind of artificial lineup or anything like that.
I'm sorry we've embarrassed you, Charlotte. If Ursula's embarrassed you.
No, you can't embarrass me. Your cake was very moist, Ursula.
Unlike my cunt.
There is really no need for that, Ursula.
I can't remember what we said about this. Sorry, Dominic, I just can't remember what...
Well, because we talked about... It doesn't matter, I think instinctively the two ways you said it were completely fine.
Right.
I think what's important is that she's trying to find a way of expressing something, and the only way she can express it is through that.
Great, you make discoveries on each line each time you do it, really. I mean, obviously you make initial choices. As an actor, you have to make initial choices, otherwise you're screwed. And you either murder it or you fly, as I say. And some of them you fall flat on your arse, and others you really make work. And it's just an elimination process. You're bound to you're not going to make 100% of the correct choices. If you do, you're just lucky. You're not a genius. So accept and build, the actor's maxim.
Dominic, can I ask one?
Yeah.
I find this jump...
You did that really well.
Well, I was just wondering, do you think it's important to break that there? Because I'm just wondering if it's because he's finding that difficult that he uses that as an excuse to change the subject, therefore...
I think that doesn't need to be too long.
Yeah, okay.
Also, I think it helps if you don't...
It's not an easy...
Drive those through a bit more.
Yeah.
So that you're trying to, you're trying to normalise quiet and explain it.
Okay. Yeah, all right. Yep. Yep.
Keeping it calm.
Look, this is why I don't do these interviews, right? I'm not an actor in the sense that just about everybody you interview would be an actor who's really intensely interested in what he does or she does. And I just do a job.
Yep, sorry, can we go from unlike my gun?
Yeah. Can we take it actually back just for Mark, just to the top of 13? She's not been the same.
Okay, yeah?
Yeah.
She's not been the same since we decided that we'd give up on having children.
We did not decide. Well, how great to do new stuff. You know, great to do new cutting-edge plays. It's great to do classics, but it's great to, you know, usually you're working with the writer as well. It's a privilege.
I think that's lovely. That feels like the right kind of tempo and profundity.
Yeah.
It's like you can take your own time with it.
Yeah. It's what's hard is going from the to the, you know what I mean? One has to be quite familiar with it after.
Yeah. But it works.
Yeah, yeah.
The actor playing Ursula, Jane, I think, said, there are 100 different ways I could play this line. And I thought, yeah, that's exactly right there, actually. And I think that's really exciting because you never know what actor you're going to get. So to me, you know, it's really great to have a kind of dramatic writing which kind of has a specificity in the content of the line, but that has a kind of openness about the construction of the line.
Ursula, we must get help.
Attracted and repulsed
Ursula!
at the same time.
Sorry, Ursula! She's going off again.
Frightened of hospitals, just like little Gregory was. Killed by a beast.
He's reacting so badly. He's going into an anaphylactic shock.
Going for help.
Okay, good. Good.
There's a danger of a big laugh there, isn't there?
Meg, go that way.
Yep.
Where?
Don't you think?
At what point?
I was, you know, doing my hunchback routine.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think do less.
Do less, yes.
Also,
no real adjustment. Just try and play the truth of it. Make sure it's loud enough.
Try and serve the text as best I can with all the experience of techniques I've learnt over the years.
when it gets to, I think, is he in heaven or hell now, make the decision to engage with him as, you're starting a game there, connected to, so it's not just literal, but it's like, since you've decided to call him Satan or the devil,
yeah,
sort of, it's the start of something more playful.
Yeah.
If you go from top of 27, he's dead. It feels more real, more naturalistic, more truthful, more rooted in a kind of an emotional truth, more profound, and ultimately quite a sad, moving piece.
Why do you think that now?
Shall we read? Ursula, Roy, Charlotte and Richard share a pot of tea and a summer cake in the garden of a large house in Kent.
20. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3.
Is she okay?
Yes!
I'm fine now.
Are you sure?
Yes, perfectly fine. I'm sorry.
Should we go?
No! It happens and then it passes.
Roy, you're embarrassing me.
I'm sorry, darling. It's unnerving for them is all.
Don't you think the cake is moist?
It's delicious.
Don't you think it's supremely moist?
Really, really, darling. Just...
Ursula, it's delicious.
Darling, it's so moist.
It really is.
Why can't mine be moist?
You always forget to take account of the fan-assisted oven.
Who is she?
You've to adjust the temperature.
Charlotte, have another cup of tea, please.
Look, a bee. What a wonderful sight.
Yes, they're in decline.
even here in the country.
Where's it gone?
There.
Don't worry, it won't sting you.
Oh! Well, why did you say that?
I didn't sting him.
Stop making such a fuss, Roy.
Gosh, it stings fucking bee! Fucking bee!
Are you all right there, Roy? Is there any cream, Ursula?
I'm okay.
Are you sure?
Oh, can I have a glass of wine, Ursula?
No.
Well, I'd like a glass. It's not long until tea time, is it?
Well, if Richard would like a glass, then perhaps we should have a glass.
Richard, we're not drinking today.
Oh.
Do you think I was targeted?
By who?
The bee, Richard! Why did the bee sting me? It's because I'm bald. Fucking bee!
Darling, you're not bald.